All right, week 2 of typing. This time we are typing James Clear, which was not so clear to me. It's like, I don't know, I think it's difficult to type someone that doesn't talk much about his personal life. I mean, he does, but he's more giving advice and talking about his work. And I think a person who's talking about his work there's not as much tidal wave freakouts. Like with Tiger last week, we saw lots of freakouts. So anyway, I'm going to cast a vote on my future self having the identity of doing typing videos every week. It's not my goal. I'm trying just to be the person who does that.
Yeah, that actually, so I did want to bring this up. I read that you wrote, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems."
That's just a great quote. I don't think I have either, to be honest. Oh well. Stop talking about yourself, Klaus.
And I think that kind of goes against a lot of our intuition. And it goes against every motivational YouTube video that I've ever seen. So what does that really mean?
Well, this is coming from someone who's been very goal-oriented for a long time. So I would set goals for the grades I wanted to get in school, or the weights I wanted to lift in the gym, or the amount of revenue I wanted in my business, or how many email subscribers I wanted, like all of that. And at some point I realized, I'm setting all these goals, like, am I actually achieving some of them? And sometimes I would, but there were plenty of times where I failed. And so I had this realization that, well, if that's the case, then setting a goal cannot be the thing that means whether or not I achieve success. And if you think about this,
would you just recommend one at a time?
Depends on which expert you talk to. Some people think, if you do 2 or 3 and they're really small, then that can be good because you're kind of like developing the skill of building a little habit. Personally, I only do 1 at a time, and I think that that's a better approach. The other reason that I recommend that is that what really changes your outcomes, or what really moves your life in a positive direction, is not a single 1% change or a single little habit. It's a collection of them all organized towards the same overall goal or overall outcome. So, sometimes people they get a Fitbit and they get a Fitbit and they start walking 10,000 steps a day or something like that. And then they get frustrated after 3 months because they haven't seen this change in the mirror, this change on the scale or whatever. But it's like, well, that's good, but that's just one habit related to your health. You don't need a single little habit. You need 1,000 of them. And once you kind of build this collection of them all moving you in the same direction, it's kind of like each one adds a little grain of sand to the side of the scale, and eventually you tip the scales in your favor.
Sounds very organized to me. Even if you have if you try to work on many habits at the same time, they should all be organized, he said, around one goal.
Our habit, or build a new habit, is forever, because if you stop doing it, it's no longer a habit, right? So I think the point here is that habits are not a finish line to cross. They're a lifestyle to live.
He said almost exactly the same words in the Lewis Howes interview. And I will focus just on this one, I think, because almost every interview is the same. He sounds like the same in almost all interviews. Yes, and we can discuss, or we can think about what that would mean type-wise in a minute.
Very remarkable results. You can get good results by being well-trained and not well-suited, and you can get good results by being well-suited and not very well-trained. So talented, but you don't practice hard. But if you want great results, you kind of need both. And how to best do that, that's a challenge.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Output, 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 output. Things.
I have all these notes on consciousness, but it would be kind of a risk for me to write about consciousness because my style is to be very actionable and practical, and I want people to be able to use stuff. Whereas
I want people to be able to use stuff. TE?
This would be much more theoretical. So maybe I take a risk where I say, all right, I'm just going to spend 3 months. I'm going to write, maybe 10 articles about consciousness, and that'll be like my experiment.
Expect something from you, but I guess they also will expect you to if, when you inject your personality and who you are into it, I guess it can always be a bit original, but there must be a little bit of a push-pull there where you're like, well, I am interested in photography as well, or whatever it is that you don't write about.
The short answer to that is yes. I mean, I'm very glad that the site is called jamesclear.com and not like betterhabits.com or something like that, because it doesn't lock me in to that particular domain or that particular topic.
It's funny how that works though, right? Just the name of something will lock you in. Like, you know what I mean?
He doesn't want to be locked in.
There's no flexibility, or at least it seems strange to delve away from it. Because I guess Ramit Sethi does that a bit too, right? His is like, I will teach you to be rich. And it was originally just about finance, but then he kind of says, no, it's about living a rich life, which can kind of is like a little bit of a twist on the original intention of it.
Right.
But sometimes you can get stuck with those band names you came up with when you were 12 years old.
Your brand can box you in a little bit. I mean, this is my friend Sean McCabe. He says it like this: like, people are going to put you in a box. They're going to put you in a box anyway, because you need to understand somebody. It's like, oh, he's a police officer, or she's a teacher, or whatever.
Very different to Tiger last week, I think. People box you in anyway. So what? Come with the tribe, possibly?
And so I really resisted having something for a long time. I still have this spreadsheet. It's like 390, I think, possible names for the site.
Wow.
All domain names and stuff or whatever. And I showed them to some friends, and I whittled it down to a top 10 list. And the feedback was pretty much unanimous. They were like, I don't really think any of these are great. And I was like, I don't either. So I guess, if Seth Godin's name is good enough for him, or Oprah's name is good enough for her, like, I'll just use my name and I'll figure it out later. And I'm still kind of figuring it out later.
He appears very balanced. Well, he appears balanced in almost all aspects of letters. So he's hard. Like a spreadsheet with 390 names for the site, yet a focus on outcome and goals.
Represent that. But I do think long term, whether you have the name or whether you go with your own name or whatever, your work is what defines your brand.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you're right that in the very beginning, it may help to push the needle a little bit. But over the course of, if we're taking the long-term approach, 5 years,
right,
if your work's good enough, eventually people are going to see it, right? If it's in the top 10% and you're really just killing it, whether it's film or writing, you're probably going to get noticed.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, the way that I've grown is by spending just as much time on strategy and marketing as I do on the content creation. It's probably about 50-50. So
very interesting. That tends, I mean, is that something he has learned? It sounds like a very natural thing. So he's a strategizer. So yeah, one thing we probably have heard by now, he's NT to hell. That was the first thing I noticed after about 10 minutes, if not less. He's NT to hell. Concept after concept after concept, and he's certainly not blast last. Well, so let's for a start, NT and not blast last. Can we do that here? Probably not. Well, we can just think, oh, that's, if he's really NT, then at least we are down to this. Also, what I heard was, I heard a lot of organizing. I heard he's speaking mostly about things. So he is a single observer. The thing is, he talks a lot about taking in. He talks a lot about how he loves learning. He talks about traveling. He has been to 30 countries, I think is listed here on his website. Although, I mean, if this is the number of countries, there's lots of states here that could be like, I don't know if it's a peacock, but and also his Instagram. You can see more photos that I took in the countries on Instagram, and then on Instagram, what we see is mostly the planning again, the concepts. So that's interesting. Look at my photos that I took traveling. Where are they? Well, there are some there. So, yes. Okay, finally. Interesting. So, yes. So, I think this is all that I was really confident about. Well, and obviously, if he's an organizer, then he has to, I mean, everything's, it sounded very controlling, everything he does. So, but what? Wait a second. I notice I'm not as well prepared as last time, although last time I didn't even try using this. So, why are the ENTJs gone already? Right, I have to talk about that later a bit. Yes. Okay, yeah, the ENTJs are gone because he's a single observer. Also, I think. Do I? Yes, but I'm not 100%. I'm not really confident on this guy. There's a combination of he's just so balanced and he's talking about his work mostly. I mean, no one would care if he had an affair, I guess. Well, by now he's big enough, but Tiger Woods is on another level, right? So, yeah, well, let's continue.
Because I think if people are going to find your article, they're subscribed to your newsletter, they really like it and find value in it. If they're on Facebook, they're going to share it with their friends on Facebook. They don't need you to be sharing it to get that nudge.
There are actually all these weird things where if you're on the consuming side, there are all these habits like, oh yeah, all of my readers have Facebook accounts. But if you're on the creating side, it's like, well, maybe as the creator, you don't even need one. And same thing is true for email. Email is the backbone of my business. And the email newsletter is the best thing that I create and put out. But I don't subscribe to any email newsletters. So like if people did what I did, I wouldn't have a business. It's so weird.
So you're more of a creator. Although the question would again be, is that something that he learned over time? It doesn't sound like it. I mean, he doesn't subscribe to email newsletters, but he does them himself. That sounds like blast over consume to me. And if we listen to him, he just loves teaching. He just loves give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not as bad as with Tai Lopez, but it's like he loves teaching. I think he's a natural teacher, and this is not something he learned. This is probably something that he can use now more, that he got more well known. And yes, I heavily, I think he's Blast Savior. And he appears very calm. I mean, one thing throughout I thought, he speaks so clearly. So his name really, his name is very fitting, I think. Yes, so Blast Savior, we can't really use that here, I think, because we don't know, he could be Play Blast or Sleep Blast. So we have to first continue.
Somebody else is working on, but by and large, I think people are far too, they take far too much ownership over their ideas. They don't realize how much they have been gifted from all the people who came before them. So throughout history, there have been 107 billion people or so, and there are 7 billion alive right now. So the quote from Niall Ferguson, who's a historian, is like the dead outnumber the living 15 to 1. So all of those people that have lived throughout history, they have all tried things and failed and tried differently and slowly learned along the way and honed their, occasionally they came across a solution that worked. Pretty much anything that you think you can come up with right now that's like this interesting solution, somebody else probably already tried it. And the best solutions get widely disseminated, and all the things that you practice and get better at, you can pass down to your children and so on. And putting it together in some way or phrasing it in a way that was simple or easy to understand or something like that. So how much credit should I really get for that idea? I don't know. I think it's probably fairly minimal.
Hiding his light under a bushel, right? Like, I shouldn't get credit for this. D.I. Demon, I think. I think so. Most of the time, he speaks a lot. He speaks a lot about serving people. There's also on this website. Well, you never know, but he's very much into helping people, and I think he is tribe over self. Although he is calm with this. So, well, this was certainly like he doesn't want to get credit for his work. Like, can I ever be good enough? I will continue working for the tribe.
Do you think we should be early on copying other people? Maybe copy with credit? Because I know when I first started out, I copied everybody. And nobody was seeing my shit. It's not like I was making money off of it. Sure. I think there's obviously a line where stealing somebody and profiting off of their work is wrong. But I would see filmmakers that I admired, and I'd be like, oh, cool, I'm going to just recreate what they did and literally do a shitty version of what they did. And
hello, Jin. I'm copying you, I guess.
And I think that's important. That's how we learn and that's how we grow, is by copying and by replicating what others have done. And then eventually we need to stop looking at other people's stuff and just start creating for ourselves. Still, as you know, we are intentionally or unintentionally copying other people. Other people have influenced our work. Other people are contributing to what we are creating, whether we like it or not.
Well, I think there's a vein of humility that kind of runs through all of this. The point that I'm trying to make here with there's this huge collective ball of knowledge that we all are benefiting from is that just don't take credit for it. Give all the credit away. You're benefiting from a huge, massive amount of knowledge that you just don't even think about each day.
Tribe over self.
But there's also there's a speech given. It was by this famous photographer. He gave it as a graduation speech. And he laid out this idea that he called the Helsinki bus station theory.
Oh, no, we don't want to hear about that now. I think this clip shows quite well that he's tribe over self. And, I got this impression from more than just this one clip. And so if he's really controlling and tribe over self, then he's automatically blast first, which is not surprising given how well he speaks. Yes, and combined with the anti-nerdiness, this would only leave NITE. I might have been too... Well, I watched about 5 hours, so yeah, this is basically as far as I got without going crazy about not being confident. So the Animal Order, I was really not confident about. Is he Tony Robbins? Well, Tony Robbins is somewhere here anyway, but he appears to be very, I don't know, he appears very introverted to me. Apart from the blast, he appears quite introverted. Okay, let's continue.
I think the only person I've quoted on this podcast is Dr. Seuss. So that's where I get my information from.
That's good.
Let's wrap up here with some quick questions. They don't have to necessarily be quick answers, so it's totally
That's good.
You.
I'm not good at that. You've already learned that.
Yeah.
He's not good at giving quick answers. He likes preparing his knowledge and prepare what he shares with the tribe. Blast. Could also hint at play demon, possibly. Like just firing away answers. not comfortable. Maybe sleepover play?
Yeah, the rapid fire thing is kind of tough.
If you live long enough, life is going to come for you. Something's going to happen. You know, I mean, when my parents were my age, they had a daughter who had cancer, and
The wording here sounded a bit weird to me. My parents. How did he say that?
if you live long enough, life is going to come for you. Something's going to happen. You know, I mean, when my parents were my age, they had a daughter who had cancer.
So his sister. Okay.
And all kinds of other stuff they were dealing with. So at that time, they didn't need to find out. It was just there for them.
Quite quickly going back to the thinking.
But at other periods of time, things were rolling along smoothly. And so when life doesn't challenge you, you should probably challenge yourself.
Pushes on self. This would match his feminine DE appearance, I think. Similar to Tiger last week. So he's not really pushing on the tribe, I think. He's very calm with the tribe, not shoving. He's pushing on himself. Masculine DI.
But at other periods of time, things were rolling along smoothly. And so when life doesn't challenge you, you should probably challenge yourself. Whether that means pushing yourself physically or taking on a difficult creative project or, living in the woods for a week or whatever. There's a million ways to do this. Going to a couple of things I could choose here, like, fitness and exercise, I think is a crucial one. I don't think I'd be an entrepreneur without an exercise habit. I don't think I'd be able to handle the psychological roller coaster of it.
He used the exact same wording with Lewis House, I think. He speaks really, I mean, that's, if I had to choose one thing that is remarkable about him, I think it's just he speaks effortlessly and also very clear. There's very clear communication. Yes.
Ways to consume, right? And like that's got to be in everything you create.
What I find, so from a reader's standpoint, the thing that really makes me, a book doesn't have to be some, whirlwind amazing story for me to want to read it if it's directly tied to a problem that I'm trying to solve in my life.
So his consume is very focused. And you could say narrow in the sense that his consume is always, like he said, tied to problems. And then probably to goals, although he doesn't like goals. So probably he's reading to form new habits and to get information that he can then blast to the tribe.
I'm really invested in the book if it's a problem that's important to me. It doesn't have to be some amazing page turner. So I think the relevance of the book to the reader makes a big difference there. Whereas you may not see a movie created like that that's super dry and you're just hoping that the audience will be really invested.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anything else? So I definitely saw soft with the tribe and pushes on self. So that would mean feminine T and masculine F. So he talks a lot about identity, taking on identities. Is that some he's moving in a way that's moving his own identity. Although it's more like, it feels like he can easily or he wants to take on the identity of someone who does this. That's probably easier to a masculine DI who pushes on self, taking on identities. Well, it also depends if it's savior or demon. Yeah, but I'm Yes. And if he's NT savior, he can't be TIFE. All right, let's see. Well, the next interviews will be rather quick because they are all quite similar. He's the same guy in all of them.
Along with other things, why did you start a blog in that niche, knowing how many are out there, and how is Passive Panda different from the other sites that are already out there?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll answer both parts. The first is, why did I do that? I think that there's so there's my personal story to it, and then there's also just the marketing story behind it. And
Personal and marketing story. Which one will he choose to answer first?
the marketing story is that big markets can handle more marketers. So
Okay, first about the thing, then about myself. First about what the tribe can gain from it, and then where I'm coming from. Tribe over self.
That you could get some traction. You know, the traffic, for instance, that you've gotten recently, is that because you've changed your philosophy or because you've changed your tactics maybe?
So I wouldn't say the philosophy of the site has changed that much. I mean, from the beginning, my main goal was to help people and
To help people. Everyone can help people, but together with all the stuff we saw already, he feels really tribe over self. To the degree that for a while I thought he might actually be an ENTJ. But, I mean, there's just so much talk about things.
do something that could allow me to make an impact. And ultimately, like I said, medicine is my passion. So ultimately, it could make me a better doctor or a better person. And so, like, improving people's financial situation, improving the way that they approach their lifestyle and the type of work that they're doing.
Blah.
Any site that has over about 50,000 RSS subscribers was probably gonna send the type of traffic that made the amount of effort for the article worth it for me. So that was it wasn't like I did a couple guest posts for people who had smaller sites, only had like 3,000 or 5,000 subscribers, but I did it because we were friends. And I would say if that 50,000 mark is a pretty good barometer for if you can get on a site larger than that, it's going to be worth your time to take a couple hours and write an article.
Worth your time, not energy. Yeah, that's something. So he appears to me quite information dominant. I mean, he's talking about information. He loves giving all the information to the tribe. He's reading all these research papers, although, well, he says he does. And I believe him. I wouldn't believe Ty Lopez, but I believe him. Yes, so possibly. And there was a lot of. So his information is not only. He's blasted very much processed information. So is he sleep over play? There was one instance before where I thought he was sleep over play. And he appears, he does not, blast play. That would be a very energized guy. I don't think he's blast play. That would only leave blast sleep, and that matches what he's talking about. It appears very processed. I think it would be much harder for him to communicate as clearly and this calmly. I mean, he feels like an introvert to me. So I really struggled with the animals, but I think Blast Sleep reworks the same info and then shares knowledge. It's not really always the same info, but well, he talks about the same stuff over and over again. The only reason why it's not annoying is because he communicates so clearly, I think. And then he shares the knowledge. Yes, he's not really expending that much energy. And yeah, so Blast Sleep, I think. And Blast Sleep Play or Blast Sleep Consume? Well, hard to say. Although, given his energy levels, I would say Blast Sleep Consume. There was one time, though, where he mentioned he was doing, I don't know what he was writing about, but he interviewed 75 people for just one article. But yeah, if he's play last, these habits can help him greatly, actually, to do things. And he does not seem to have problems starting things, which would make sense as a blast lead. He talks about that, how important it is to start. Well, maybe we get there. I don't know if I chose that one, but how important it is to start things and to just get, he talks about that like in all videos, I think. So if you want to form a habit, just go to the gym. And if it's only 5 minutes for the first 4 weeks, or just just put on the shoes. That's it. Yeah.
Subscribers, then the small site converted 20% and only sent me 15. You know,
Sure.
so
And
so
are-
sometimes the raw numbers are worth considering.
Are you sending those people to a landing page, or are they just coming to the homepage of your site?
So the best I can, if you want to talk a little more about the conversion stuff, I have the best converting pages. I can just talk about those a little bit.
That was a nice. That confused. I have the best conversion pages. That's rather confident. I have the best. Well, I don't know what exactly that would mean, but know it all, consume last. I don't know. I do not know.
What are the components of that you really try to bake in?
Well, the first thing is I rarely talk about my personal stuff on there. I try to focus purely on the customer or the client or the reader, right?
Tribe over self.
So I try to just give stuff that's as useful as possible for them. Not that writing about your personal story isn't bad, but I think a lot of people sort of convince themselves that, oh, I'm interesting or my story's interesting, so people will pay attention. But people buy into results. They don't really buy into ideas or products or services. It doesn't matter if you offer a product or a service or a story. It needs to provide a result for them.
Tribe over self, I think. Tribe over self.
Because if you can get in front of the right audience, then that can make a big difference. The only other thing I'll say too is that I thought of it when you were mentioning this, is that and like I said, I'm still just getting started, but I think that a lot of success online, people who are really successful, it comes from finding one thing that works and then repeating that one thing a million times.
Still sounds a bit like he learned that, but nah. Ah, yeah, so some of these, I don't know, I found it in a link collection that Laura did. So you can, it's very helpful for typing, I think. So what I did, I just wanted to hear something about his personal life. So I typed in James Clear Utter's wife, because he has a wife, and I did the same with kids and some other words. It's very helpful, I think. It's a great tool. And I think who found it was, I think Austin posted it somewhere, and Laura put it in that link collection. Yeah, so that was helpful. And it's also helpful just to find other interviews as well. Yes.
Biggest thing that gives me meaning in my work, and I guess I should specifically say not writing itself, but sharing my writing publicly. I can remember moments early on, like my business wasn't making any money. I didn't have a big audience or anything, but I would write an article and I'd get like one email a week from a reader who said, I really enjoyed this, or this meant a lot to me, or this was helpful for the following reasons. And that one email was enough to get me to show up the next week and do it all over again.
Tribe over self. So much so that I wonder, it's easier for me to see tribe over self than the although the organizing is pretty obvious as well, just considering everything that I saw. But there's still he's doing a lot of research, so it could be his consume hobby though. And yeah, I think considering everything, I would choose this type here. NITE, blast, sleep, consume.
And so writing and weightlifting are probably the two that provide the most meaning for me.
Oh yeah, so here in this app, I just searched for tribe, and let's see what he has to say about the tribe.
Someone to kind of share the emotional burden, right?
For sure. Well, if you come, the thing that Ultimately, what you're looking to do is, like we just said, feel like it's part of your territory. And
Yeah.
because there are other people in that space, what that also means is you're looking to feel like you're part of the tribe who
Yes.
goes there, right? That you belong with the other people who are in that room.
Yeah.
And so it helps to what is a tribe? Well, it's a group of people that you get along with, that you bond with, that you belong to over something else.
Yeah, he's not. He's too calm with tribe and self, I think.
Over
Yeah.
some shared interest. And in other words, it's a group that gets part of your territory. And
Yeah.
because there are other people in that space, what that also means is you're looking to feel like you're part of the tribe who
Yes.
goes there, right? That you belong with the other people who are
Tribes.
in that room.
You had
And
to.
so it helps to what is a tribe? Well, it's a group of people that you get along with. That
So what? So what? What is the tribe? Do I feel alienated? No.
you bond with, that you belong to over something else, over
Yeah.
some shared interest. And in other words, it's a group in a lot of ways of friends who share some kind of interest. So these are your gym friends.
Yeah.
Well, if you go with your wife, then you automatically have at least one person in the tribe that you are friends with, that you do belong with.
Or maybe I searched for wife and the tribe came up. I don't know, but very balanced. Yeah, I mean, this interview is basically very similar to the one with Matt DeVella or whatever his name is.
I train 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I didn't exercise, I don't know that I would be an entrepreneur. Like, I don't know if I could handle the psychological roller coaster with
Exactly the same word. No, exactly the same wording even. Crazy. Matt James. I won't find it this quickly, I think. But yeah. Psychological what? Psychological.
I train 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I didn't exercise, I don't know that I would be an entrepreneur. Like, I don't know if I could handle the psychological roller coaster without the physical outlet.
Yeah.
Yes. Controlling tribe over self. Yeah, for a brief period I thought, could he be sleep first? Yeah. But he's tribe over self. So has to be blast first, which makes perfect sense to me.
It gets out of the way. And now you can actually like have this stuff arise or think in a different way than if you're sitting. So I don't know. I think that those are 2
Yeah,
benefits.
that's cool. Okay, so that'd be the 4th thing.
Sleep is the 5th one. And this is one that I actually am pretty good about. So my cardinal rule is that I don't cheat myself on sleep. So if I stay up late and work till midnight, I'm going to sleep till 8 or 9.
Sleeping in.
Yeah, like I'm not going to get up early because I don't want to cheat myself on that. But yeah, I think that those are kind of the core things. It's funny.
Sleep 8 to 9 hours, he gets his sleep. Not play over sleep. I don't think so. Sleep over play. I mean, this is just an anecdote, but it helps confirm what we already thought. Also interesting, he was asked for five things and he could have stopped after 3. So there's not like some over collecting really, I think.
And all those things are fine, but I think they're all short-term solutions. You might be able to do that for a day or a week, but I've never consistently seen someone stick to positive habits in a negative environment. It's really hard to fight that day in and day out. Mm-hmm. So the solution, I think, is to reduce friction. And there are a ton of ways you can do this. One way is just to scale the habit down, make it as easy as possible. So
what does he mean by friction here? Like, I think it could point toward being play last. Like, it's hard for him to push through things. It's easy to start blast, but friction is something that comes up along the way. Well, this is my interpretation now, but that could point towards him being play last. Like, that's the stuff you have to push through. And if you have habits, it's much easier to push through that. So habits could really be like the thing that he needed to get through his play last demon.
people have heard things like this before. Start small, small steps, whatever. But even when you know you should start small, it's still really easy to start too big. So, say you want to get in shape and you're like, all right, I want to run a couple days a week, but I know I should start small, so I'll only run for 15 minutes. But even that is like way bigger than what I'm talking about. I mean, it should be so small that in the book I call it the 2-minute rule, but you should downscale any habit to fit within 2 minutes. So it's like, all right, I want to go for a run 3 days a week. My habit is I put on my running shoes and I step out the door. Anything else that happens after that is just bonus.
Is a success.
Now, sometimes people resist that because they're like, well, this sounds kind of like a mental trick, right? Like I know the real goal isn't just to put my shoes on. I know the real goal is to go for a run. So if you feel that way, my suggestion would be only do the first 2 minutes for the first few weeks. Because what you need to do is master the art of showing up. Like I had a reader who ended up losing over 100 pounds. And one of the things that he did was he went to the gym, but he wasn't allowed to stay for longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't know. He feels like he's not missing any animal. But is he missing? He's not missing blast. He's not missing sleep and consume. I don't think he's missing consume either. And this animal order would make sense given his energy. Like there is the blast energy, but then it falls off, no? Like the habits are really important, I think. Well, they are important, but yeah. All right, and the last thing that confused me again a bit, but it's just an anecdote to confuse all of us again for the end.
Something failed or something didn't go well.
Almost done. And I wanted to ask you, so tell me maybe one word or like a phrase or a sentence or something really short that describes when you think about, say, your past, your present, your future, yourself.
I guess if I had to pin it down to one word, I would say an adventurer or explorer, something like that.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds more like an EP, but that's maybe where he's going. So, if he's this an ITE, then that would sound very much EP-ish. That could be his ESFP side then. He also talked about how he liked school and loved learning. Yeah, maybe it's the consume third. Yeah, I'm not as confident as I was with Tiger, even though I was wrong about Tiger as well. But yeah, so I think that's all. Yeah, it's good to just do that as well. Not that I did that before, but yeah. So is his? Oh, I'm not as confident here. I would say MF though, and that would make his blast feminine. And that's maybe, so he's blast first, but he doesn't feel like blast first. I mean, he feels blast first in the sense that he's so clearly communicating, but it's very soft, I think. And if he's MF, that would make his blast double feminine. And his his consume double masculine. And he feels like, he even like in one of the interviews, when the interviewer asked to stay in contact, he said, "Yeah, please drop me an email if you find an interesting research subject or something." So the consume double masculine would make sense as well. Yeah. Could he be an EP? I don't think so, but I'm not as confident as I was about Tiger being an IP. Anyway, bye-bye. Who says bye-bye?